Hello, Tower Guy friends. Hey, everybody. It's Jason Blaha here, and once again, it's time for another orc mode workout. And today was dynamic effort bench press day, and a few changes. You guys will notice I'm using more bands. They're less floppy at the bottom. I've got them quite a bit tighter. There's still a little bit of slack, I think, on one of the bands now that I look at it, but much tighter. And here's what I'm going to say: running 115 pounds of band tension at the lockout, oh my god. I'm surprised I'm able to get the speed that I am, right? And it's not perfect. So I say things like that, then, when I'm talking training, people think that I'm bragging and saying, well, I'm getting amazing speed. No, I'm getting good speed. Could it be faster? Yes. But how do we get it faster? Well, we have to practice, right? We have to practice. That's the only way to improve a skill or an ability or strength or anything else. We have to work at it. And I'm making progress there, but it needs work still. Needs some work. But running the 5x5 with the short breaks, it's interesting. I can see why, again, as I said in the speed squats the other day, I can see why this is really for advanced lifters only. Right? To run this with the bands, the 5x5, with the heavy band tension. We start getting 30% or more bands. It's a different beast. Totally different beast. And I'm glad I've been doing the conditioning work that I've been doing, because you really need a lot of it. Not so much on the bench, but as you do on the squats. But again, it's different. Tremendous amount of chest activation. And I think that's a big difference, even with the close grip. And that might surprise a lot of people. Like, what do you mean? This is against bands and it's close grip. How could it be chest? It shouldn't be all tricep. No, man. I feel this in my pecs. It's that stretch reflex you get in the chest. All right, the overspeed eccentric on the bands, and then the reverse at the bottom, and then having accelerate against the bands hard out of the bottom. This is what gives you the speed off the bottom. And I think the speed work is the reason I've been so good lately at breaking weight off the bottom. I only struggle with the lockouts on bench. Right? I only struggle with lockouts right now. But doesn't mean that we don't worry about the bottom. It's just that I'm going to let the speed work handle it. I'll let the speed work handle it. Now, I will say my shoulders are getting better and better by the day. And people who are asking about it, it's the case of when I can assess what's going on. It's that the pull-ups, and I think it started originally when I was doing the 100 chin-ups a day last year. It started causing the tricep tendon in my shoulder on the long head, it's not near the elbow, to pop out of place. And I have to keep crackling it into place. And when I say I have to crackle it back into place after I've done pull-ups every time now, it's for over a week every time. I have to do it like 20 times a day. I have to crackle it into place and do different movements. Now, it is getting better and better. Some exercises made it completely go away today, and others slightly irritated it. Interestingly enough, tricep movements, if I'm not careful, can. But that makes sense. The inverted rows today, after I did those, it completely removed any inflammation. I felt nothing. My shoulders felt phenomenal. But that was part of my cure before, wasn't it? When we pulled out all pull-ups and chin-ups and started doing those inverted rows, what happened? My shoulders completely healed. But it really is the pull-ups and chin-ups, and I've just had to accept I'm not going to be able to do those movements. And I don't have to do those movements. They're not necessary for me. I have a strong back without them. And then we did the dips against chains again. And these are tricep dips. I'm grabbing it as close as I can. So people are like, well, couldn't you be closer up to get a narrower with the V? No, because I can't come down. All right? If my chest is getting on top of the thing, I can't come all the way down. This is as far in as I can get. But it's pretty close grip. It's like a close grip bench there for me. But I did a 5x5, and I used technically 102 pounds of chains. But there's a little bit on the bottom. And you know what? It doesn't matter, because as long as it's consistent, I don't need to calculate the exact number of pounds it's on the ground. There's a small amount on the ground. It's at least a few pounds, right? It's at least a few pounds out of the 102. But I can say at least 90 pounds is coming up in the air, at least at the lockout. And there's a whole heck of a lot at the bottom. So I want to keep getting stronger on these. And why am I doing this on this day? Pec and tricep, right? I do want to make sure I get some pec activation on this day because pecs matter a little bit, but I really want to hammer the triceps. Dips are a phenomenal tricep exercise. Doing them against chains, even more so. Now people will point, well, you don't always lock. Well, it has to do with certain angles. It has to do with my elbow structure. My arms, my lockout's a little different from a lot of people's. Right? So I'm getting to where I can. And when I look at the footage, I feel more locked out than what I see on camera. And on the last rep each time, I'm going to where I feel my elbow lock out, even though it looks slightly bent. But that's what we see me happen on deadlifts for me too, right? If over 600 pounds hanging from my arm can't pull it straighter than that, that's pretty much my lockout. And I've not been red lighted in comp for failure to lock, right? Not been an issue. But it's just my elbows. But we have to keep working lockout. Have to keep working the triceps. And triceps are going to continue to be a high priority for me, just like rear delts are going to be a high priority. Adductors and hamstrings are going to be high priorities for me. They have to be. Doesn't mean we don't work every muscle in the body. It just means we prioritize for my strength gains. And yeah, definitely feel these though. I'm getting a lot of activation in my pec. I feel the stretch that I want. I feel the tricep. And it's a unique exercise. Unique exercise. Now, it's harder to get kind of to the bottom on the stretch because the chains feel a little awkward on the eccentric. But again, we're getting the range of motion better than we get on a bench as far as hand position. Still hitting that whole pec, and we're hitting the whole tricep. That's what we want out of it. It's a good all-around movement for that. And I can always replace it with something else later. I want to try to work more board work in as a secondary movement on max day to get more tricep also. But happy with these today. Pretty heavyweight for the chains. And like I said, the reason again for the chains is I don't want to have too much load at the bottom. Again, I want to make sure that I keep my shoulder health on point. I don't need to just beat my shoulders up while we continue to rehab stuff. I want to work some overhead pressing back in. I think the way they're feeling right now, that by the time I get to next week, I'll be good. I think next week I should be able to add standing presses back in. Then I did these laying extensions again with a very heavy weight. And these are hard. These were hard today. Because I've done all this other pressing, particularly the dips first, these were so hard on the first set. They got easier on the second and third set. And then the fourth set I couldn't finish. I got to like 4 reps. Right, we got 4 reps. But again, people are asking why the heavier weights on a lot of these movements. I want more tension. Okay? I want more tension. And a lot of what I've told you guys has more to do with base building. A lot of things has to do with base building as far as volume versus reps and sets. The majority of you out there really need to do more tens and stuff in general. Okay? My fat-free mass index is ultra high at this point. I have a lot of muscle mass. Yes, I know I'm not lean, but my muscle mass is really high, all things considered. I've gained muscle since my last DEXA scan. In my last DEXA scan, it was like a 26 or higher fat-free mass index. So I have not had a problem gaining muscle. Now I want to focus on maybe the potential for better intramuscular coordination. Okay. I want to focus on a lot of those things. And, you know, look at how it went with my squat and deadlift when I was doing all the tens and the maxing every day. Squat and deadlift went up. Bench didn't. Now I've bench PR'd. But where did I bench PR? When I started doing heavier assistance work. My pec and tricep work and stuff started doing 5s and 6s. With a heavy focus on triceps too. And it doesn't mean I'm not going to do some high rep stuff for triceps. They're weak links, so they're going to get both. But I need to make sure I'm putting a lot of tension on them. That's why I'm doing the 5s and 6s on a lot of these movements. I need the triceps to get the mechanical tension. I need to make sure that we're solidifying myofibrillar growth. Right? And then we can do pump work later, which I do today. Because I think I can work enough tricep work in on these 2 days. I can cut the band press downs back out I've been doing every day. and let my triceps actually heal, because they're going to need it. I can just beat them into the ground. I went back to these for a couple of reasons. Number one, I remember how good they made my shoulders feel, how quickly these rehabbed my shoulders after they had gotten fatigued from the chin-ups and stuff before, or had the inflammation issues. And it's exactly what happened today. 3 sets of these and my shoulders felt phenomenal. They got slightly irritated doing the Skullcrushers in a minute, but this made them feel great. I had like 15 minutes where I felt perfect range of motion, no crackling, no discomfort of any type, going to any shoulder position, rotating my shoulders around, moving my arms. So these are really going to be an important exercise. And it has to do with just building up all the musculature and range of motion to get everything moving the way I want, blood flow to everything, again, building the right muscles. But these felt great. And yes, this is the highest I've done these. I'm up on the 18-inch bench. And I still got 3 sets of 12. So why stop at 3 sets today? Because I got a phenomenal pump in my whole upper back. Rear delts, rhomboids, mid traps. I felt all of it, and I don't want to get DOMs. I've got to pull tomorrow. I've got to do speed pulls and everything. I don't want to get DOMs. I'm going to have to increase the volume slowly on these. I am doing a lot of other rear delt work and everything, because I'm doing band pull aparts every single day. That area is getting a lot of work. I just need to make sure I get minimum volume to get my lats and traps and everything growing, and keeping in mind how much other pulling we're doing. Also keep in mind, I want my lower back to get rest on these upper body days now. I'm doing a ton of heavy good mornings, reverse hypers, all this heavy loading, a lot of axial loading. I do need to make sure that my low back isn't getting beat up, and especially if I add overhead pressing back in. So we can cut the rows out. Let's focus upon just working the upper back with some mid back. Not worry about my low back getting worked at all on these days. Make sure we belt up even for cheek curls, because we've seen the EMG data on the low back on cheek curls. All right. And on this, I ended up only completing 2 sets. They were challenging with the heavy weight, though, so my biceps really got fatigued from those. And I've noticed that my biceps do get fatigued from the inverted rows, because I guess it's all the higher reps. So these were harder than normal today, and the 3rd set I got like 2 reps in and I failed. Like, these were very, very hard. These were basically limit sets, the first 2 sets, and that's all my biceps could handle. We come back over to the same thing. I need the tension. I remember when I was younger, when I had the biggest biceps I'd ever had, I was doing a lot of really heavy work. I wasn't doing 15 reps. I was doing really heavy work for biceps, including these cheek curls and things like that, in addition to heavy rows and stuff. So we need to go back to, because we know, watching over the years, I don't get particularly good results doing high rep for my biceps. It's one of the reasons they lag. It's not because I don't train now. Biceps, mine don't just respond that well to it. So let's go over and just do the heavy work, get the mechanical tension. The inverted rows are giving me reps and everything for that. I'm still getting some pump work. And then we finish off with 4 sets of Skullcrushers. Finish off at 4 sets, right at about 15 reps. They were pretty challenging for 15. Yes, I know it's a lightweight, but my triceps have done a lot of work. It was a speed bench day. We did all those dips. We did those really heavy floor extensions. My triceps were beat up. So this is just to get a good pump in them, get some blood flow. Again, get a little extra volume. Just to get a little extra volume for a muscle that I know is a weak link for me. So it's getting hit from a couple different rep ranges intentionally, right? If you have a muscle that is really and truly a weak link, if you're messing with only 1 rep range, and I'm going to say my speed work is more or less the same rep range as my other volume, 5 to 6, not counting my max work, which we do every week too. We could stand to still get the extra, some rep work in, right? We could stand to get some extra rep work, and in a way that's going to hit the heads of the tricep that I need to grow the most to improve my pressing strength, right? So we finish off with these. Making triceps the biggest priority on the upper body days. We still train everything, right? Pecs, delts, traps, lats, biceps, forearms. It's all getting hit with at least the minimum effective volumes for growth. But the triceps are going to take a higher priority because we need them to grow the most. If I could single out one muscle in the upper body. For two muscles right now, it would be triceps and rear delts. And my rear delts are getting tons of work every day because I'm doing all those band pull aparts to help the rotator cuffs and rotator cuff work and stuff. And so that's getting plenty. The triceps, though, I really, really need to take them to their limits. I really need to push them to their maximum recoverable volume on all these days and make them a priority. You know, if I add another inch to my triceps, I think that's going to take my bench to the next level. And it's not to say we don't need more delt and more pec. And people forget that when I say that. Are you saying you don't need any of those? No, I'm not saying that at all. Of course we do. What do I need the most? Well, when we look at my bench maxes, we know it's my triceps. That's where the most work needs to happen. And if it means that we take a smaller movement like this for high reps just to finish after we've done all that heavy work, then that's what we do. That's what we do. But happy with the workout today. Again, my shoulders are doing better and better every day. And I'll add, hopefully, feel good enough to add some overhead pressing back in on max bench day on Monday. But a good workout. The speed work was definitely challenging and stimulating running the really heavy bands. But again, overall happy with today's workout. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.